Ready when you are.
Well, I'm at our page on our YouTube page, but
Okay. Nothing showing live there yet.
now live on your channel. Boy, I got an email about it. I have an email that told me
Well, it
that.
sounds promising then, doesn't it?
Go there. Yeah,
You good to go?
here we are. And there's a chat. We have one person in it.
Perfect. So before we get started, for the one person that's in the chat, feel free to communicate in the chat, and maybe we'll chat about what you're chatting about on the
Wonder if
podcast.
the person is me.
It might be you. So I'll reiterate, if you've got something to contribute. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at with your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
Good afternoon, my feathered little friend.
Why so feathered?
I don't
was
know.
it. That was what you came up with.
Yeah, that's what was in my head for today. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. Episode 198 of the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Wade and Shane here with you live on YouTube. This is where we go now.
Yeah.
YouTube. If you don't change, if you ain't changing, you're dying. That's not a saying. Is that
I don't know. Is it if you're not growing, you're dying?
not living, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. So
Yeah.
anyway, people are like, go back to Instagram. No.
I don't think so.
We're just going to go on YouTube now. So
Yeah.
subscribe or don't. Up to you.
Okay.
Gonna get right to it. Are you getting excited for Deck Expo, by the way? We're 10 days away, not even from leaving.
Like, yes and no. So I'm really excited to go, but there seems to be a lot of stuff to do before we go. You know?
Like at work?
Yeah.
Work things? Yeah, there is.
Yeah. And so
Yeah, there is.
we had there's a couple projects that are on the go right now, and I'm not sure that those will be done by the time we leave. And some of them are pretty big ones. So
Okay.
the one for the city is supposed to start.
Well, that's supposed to all be done next week. No?
Yeah, it's supposed to start next week, but it was supposed to start last week. And
Yeah, fair enough.
and if it lands on the day that we leave, like,
Okay, fine. I'm going to ask you a few questions here, Wade.
okay.
It's this or that. Would you rather? Would you rather be married to someone good looking who doesn't think you're attractive, or be married to someone who's ugly that thinks you're gorgeous? Oh,
Wow.
finally got you on one, hey?
Read it again.
Would you rather be married to someone who's good looking but doesn't think you're attractive, or be married to someone who's ugly but thinks you're gorgeous?
And like, so I would think that person is ugly and they think I'm gorgeous, or the rest of the
Would
world?
you rather have, would you rather have a hot wife who thinks you're ugly, or would you rather have an ugly wife who thinks you're gorgeous? Tough, right? That's a tough one.
It's tricky.
Right when you think you have the answer, you're like, but.
I think the second one. I think
I'm all
have
confused now.
I'd rather have an ugly wife that I married that thinks I'm hot, because presumably I found her attractive, right? And that's how I married
Her inner beauty.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Her inner beauty.
But like,
Yeah.
if she thought I was ugly, then that's
That's a tough life.
probably, yeah,
Yeah, you're getting cheated on for sure.
right. But if it's the other way around, then you maybe aren't, because there's obviously some reason that you married them, right?
Sure, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if they think you're attractive, then I don't know. Then both of you should be happier. That's a good one.
That's a doozy. I can't figure out where I'd be on that either, but I think I'm with you. I think I'd rather have the lesser attractive wife who's into me than some bombshell who's not.
right.
Because I think
Yeah.
that sounds like a poor life right there. Somebody's just like
Yeah, and just like the
thinks
constant,
you're
like,
ugly and
yeah, they
disinterested. And
no
like,
doubt they would like No doubt they would take shots at you all the time.
Because then what? You're like, yeah, my wife's super hot, but she won't touch me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great either
Yeah.
way. But now for a moment you have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes because you don't have a boss. But would you rather let your parents or your boss access your browsing history?
Whoa.
That's some good ones this week.
I would say
And if anybody's in the YouTube, you feel free to answer these yourself as well. Would you rather have your boss or your parents go through your browsing history? You got to keep an eye on that thing. Make sure if people are
there's
commenting.
a couple of comments for sure, but I would say probably my parents could go through that. Yeah.
You can't get new parents. You can always quit your job.
Yeah.
Holy man. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day with your parents, you just laugh it off. Be like, bah, remember that time? With your boss, that could actually affect like the relationship with them.
Yeah.
Like your parents aren't going to disown you because you Googled like women's feet.
What type of
something.
of skates to buy?
Yeah. Yeah. But your boss, it could get pretty awkward and that can make like life. Not to mention that, but I don't know about you, but I only see my parents every once in a while. You see your boss every day.
Yep.
Like that's you got to face that music for a lot longer.
Scott Sheffield thinks that if she thinks you're ugly, you're not getting any. Eric True thinks that ugly can be fixed.
Holy. That sounds like a whole episode into itself.
And Scott was like, are we talking paper bag ugly or what? Precision Construction thinks that the boss is who he would let see his browser history.
Who said that?
Precision.
Okay.
He'd show it to the boss.
Okay.
So a new job before new parents.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, final one. Would you rather wake up in your underwear at work or wake up naked in the woods 20 miles from home?
Underwear at work.
Yeah, here, like this is a pretty safe space, right? Like here's not that bad of work.
Yeah.
Imagine though, like I'm like here, sure, underwear, who cares? My old job, that'd be a different story.
But even at that,
11th floor with 6,000 people in the building, and it's like take the elevator down with a bunch, like, yeah.
but still, like you got 6,000 people there. Only 11 of them know you.
20. Does the number play in? Is that factor in there for you? It's a 20-mile walk. What if it was only like a 1-mile walk or half a kilometer?
It's like, what is it outside? -1 or -2 today.
Oh, so you went temperature even.
Yeah.
That data wasn't even in the question.
Right. But if you're naked, you have nothing. You have no tools to help you survive, right? And so you can't just,
unless you're a real woodsman, you make your own tools.
right.
Well, that's it for Would You Rather this week. Those were good ones. I feel like the other ones we've done have been too easy.
They were all a little bit easier. Yep.
So Deck Expo, just before we get into the topic here, is November 15th, I believe it starts. The actual show starts on the 15th.
Yeah.
We're heading up on the 13th. So for anybody who's wanting to get together and hang out or whatever, shoot us a message. We're there on the Sunday, the 13th. We leave on Friday, the 18th. Lots of stuff going on. I'm having trouble deciding, like, what are we doing? What are we committing to? I was on TikTok Live today earlier, and like Kevin from Raven Builders is on there, and he's like, God, there's so much stuff. And I was like, I know, I don't like to commit to any one thing because there's so much going on. I don't want to like miss out on what people are doing the day of.
Yeah.
Like I get this, like, it's not anxiety. It's just like, somebody's like, hey, come do this event. It's like, yeah, but what if we get there and everybody else is doing something else?
Yeah.
I want to go to your event then.
Yeah.
So explains my hesitance to like sign up for things.
We booked a couple things
We are probably going to the football game
on Sunday.
as long as our flight lands on time on Sunday.
Yeah. But I'm not going to make the same mistake we made with the other football games.
Right.
There will be no tickets purchased in advance.
So if anybody wants to go to the football game with us, let us know. We're just going to buy them the day of. We're
When we
probably
land
going
from a
golfing.
scalper.
Yeah.
Golfing is booked
Golfing is booked on Monday morning.
at 7 a.m.
And I don't know what the details of that. It's me, you, and Scott,
And Tyler.
Kelly, and Tyler's. Okay.
Yeah. And Tyler's already got his clubs rented. He was like, I'm getting them rented.
Oh yeah, we should probably phone out and do that.
Yeah. And then he was going to reach out to some other guys that he thought might be around Monday, but I don't know if they'll be in that early. So,
okay. And then Tuesday night, I think it is, we're going to the hockey game
yep.
with some friends from Trex and
Yep.
Trex and Friends, we'll say.
Trex and Friends.
And outside of that, are we booked for anything?
That's it. Well, like we're going to do some podcasts when we're down there.
We have some podcasts that we're going to be doing. That was asked in the live today too. You guys doing any podcasts from the show? Yes, we are. Details to be coming soon, but we have 3 or 4 booked right
We
now.
have 3 booked right now.
So we'll be you'll be able to come pop by a couple booths and see us there. And outside of that, there's like a bunch of other like kind of gatherings and social events that we need to decide if we're going to and then sign up for them, because some of them are like limited access or you need to like, get tickets or whatever.
I clicked on yes for one of them. For
Okay.
one of the, like I got a calendar invite or maybe a Facebook invite or something.
Okay.
From Chris for Legacy
Just
Decks.
you or am I?
I don't know that you, I don't think he
Didn't
wanted
make
you
the cut.
there. Yeah.
I did see that one. That one's on, I think that's Monday night actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
I think so.
Penthouse party or something.
And it was like limited access. Are you going? And so
Yeah. Well,
I had
RSVP for me too. By the way, I did sign you up for things today.
I
Just
didn't want to
saying.
bring it up because what if Chris didn't want you there? It would be like awkward. So,
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. Fine.
Eric would definitely take, nope, he didn't answer what he would take. He said, that's 2 new advantages of being a small business owner. So my guess is probably the underwear at work.
Oh yeah.
Is the
Underwear at
advantage
work.
of being the owner.
Sure. Yeah. And
Maybe.
browsing history. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
They actually might be one and the same. Why are you in your underwear? Well, it's because of my browsing history.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Scott Sheffield wonders if the previous night was why you woke up naked in the woods. Indirect ePay question. Have you always been composite
Ooh.
exclusively, or do you dabble in ePay?
Who's the question from, Wade? I'd like you to.
K-Batch 80.
Okay, so new person. So we aren't composite only. And just to clarify for those watching or listening, we aren't even builders. Used to be, but we're actually a dealer. We're on the retail side now. We sell the product to contractors now. But we're not composite only. We do carry pressure treated brown lumber and decking and
Yep.
Western red cedar.
Yep.
And for a while we had carried bamboo, hardwood. We're getting away from it. We do carry a bunch of different brands of composite as well, and PVC. We have done hardwoods. We've done some red Batu.
Yep.
We've done Ipe. We don't stock Ipe, but we order it in as needed. It's so bloody expensive right now.
It's funny that this question just came up because you actually need to order some.
Yeah. 20 minutes ago, I was like, hey, Wade, we got to order a little bit of Ipe for this guy. And we've done concrete deck tiles.
Yep.
We've done vinyl sheet decking. Like we do all sorts of decking.
Mm-hmm.
We are called the ultimate deck shop.
This is true.
So we got to carry more than just one thing.
We'll have to change our name because I'm not interested in doing vinyl sheet decking anymore.
Correct. The nearly ultimate deck shop.
Yeah. That sheet decking can go away.
The almost always finished. Before we get on to it, follow us on TikTok. We're going crazy on there. We're posting a lot. It's kind of our prime channel now. TikTok, YouTube. We love that
Well,
stuff.
as all kids would.
Instagram and Facebook as well, but follow us on those other ones if you're not already. Now that the pitch is up, here are 10 improvements we would like to see in deck materials. So we put together a list of things that products that are out there that we're familiar with that we think they could just be a little bit better if they could figure this out about them. Right?
Yeah.
And we kind of stole from like 3 or 4 categories of like decking, framing, railing, and pergolas, and how we'd want to see them improved.
Okay.
So over the years, we've seen some companies come out with improvements on these categories. Here's things we still think need to be tackled.
Yeah.
Number 1 in the decking category, composite decking that doesn't get hot, but like for real doesn't get hot. Not just
Like even the
marketing
stuff-
doesn't get hot.
Yeah, like even the stuff that doesn't get hot is still hot.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what line that is. That doesn't matter if it's like Moisture Shield with Cool Deck or if it's like decorators saying that their stuff is cooler, like, or contractors saying that their stuff is cooler. It's like, it's all still hot.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a way.
Maybe there isn't, maybe there isn't. Like we always say too, it's like, yes, things that are under hot sun get hot. All things. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as something that stays cold in hot sun.
Yeah.
Ice. No, it melts.
Yeah.
Like
It
it's
warms
only
up too.
Yeah, like so I don't know that it's super possible. Sure, it's possible to reduce heat, that Moisture Shield has done something to reduce heat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I just always like to communicate that it's like it's not as it's implied. When they call it cool deck, does not mean the board is cool. And when Clubhouse was calling theirs cool pigment technology, it's very misleading. It's not cool by any means. It's still hot.
Yeah.
It's just that it's one of the less hot options on the market.
That's right.
So we do our heat tests every couple of years. We've tested the Moisture Shield Cool Deck. We've never found it to be any cooler than other comparable colored boards from other lines. So yes, the Mochaccino Cool Deck, whatever, is cooler than Deckorators Kaya. It's also 75 shades lighter in color.
Yeah.
When you compare it against Fibron Cottage or
Deckorators
TimberTech
Tundra.
Yeah. Or these lighter colored boards, it's not that much different. We're talking like maybe a couple of degrees. Like when it's 110 degrees outside, 100 degrees outside, the Mochaccino is 135-ish, and like Cottage is like 136, 137. So like
and
that
you can't
1 degree
feel
difference
that.
is not, you're not feeling it.
But
So
the science lets you write that. The science lets you write it's cooler.
sure. And the TimberTech whitewash is 135, 134. So it, again, it's lighter, so it stays cooler too. So cool is just a very deceiving word in that they're not cool. They may be tolerable a little bit longer than some of the other darker colored comparable boards.
Certainly.
Well, that's what it. But it'd be nice if somebody could really figure it out to the point where it's like, in our livable temperatures, if it's going to be 40 degrees or 110 outside, in the beating sun, it'd be nice if you could still walk on it, because there's hardly a brand or a color that you can do that with right now. Unless you go with these stark white or super light color boards.
And I don't know that there's anything anywhere that you can do that with.
Well,
so
that's the
even
thing.
at even a beach, like even if you're just walking on the sand. So for me, it's like, it would be really nice if we could figure out how to make that happen. But I don't know of any naturally occurring products that you could even look at that would do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
what do you even start with?
It's so weird that and this is going to be ironic that I'm saying this, because we're sitting here saying there should be a board that does this, but it's so odd that we have this expectation of decking to not be hot when it's hot out.
Yeah.
When you're at the beach and it's that hot out, everybody's had the dance through the sand. You're like, ooh, and then you put your flip flops on and you get in the water.
Yeah.
When you're out on the sidewalk, you're like, ooh,
Yep.
And you're on the pavement, same thing. We cook eggs on our car hoods to show how hot it is outside.
Yes.
We know that everything gets hot in the sun. But with the decking, it's like, but that shouldn't.
It's my leisure space.
Why?
I would like it to not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's just strange we have that expectation. But if somebody could figure out that there was an actual, like, real, like,
Could you imagine
unarguable difference
if
that
they
it
could
stayed,
make it 20 degrees cooler.
or that it just didn't get hotter than the ambient temperature outside, right? If it was 100 degrees out, the decking floor is 100 degrees.
Right. That
But
would
they
be
get
fun.
hotter than what it is outside. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yep.
But if you could figure that out, you'd have a winner.
Yep.
We were going to we're going to shuffle them, right?
I said to go in order, but it didn't matter.
Okay,
I don't
fine.
care.
In order. We'll stay with the decking category then. Now, here's one that is very controllable that we believe. Warranties should cover the install no matter who's installing it, as long as it's installed as per the manufacturer's install instructions.
Yeah. And so, like, this is one of the things when you are like, these are the things that need to improve in the industry. Or, nope, nothing still.
I was like, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just like, make sure you watch the comments.
Yeah, it was. When you said that it was like things need to be improved in the industry. So some of these will have been improved by some vendors.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay,
They're just
well,
not the norm yet, right?
It's not the norm, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one. That's something that I think has already been improved.
Yeah.
Decorators is doing that.
Yes.
I just believe that it just makes sense to me that your warranty should be tied to how it was installed.
Yeah. And there's no real good reason from the consumer's perspective that they're not like this. Right?
Yeah.
Like people often talk about, like, think like the consumer, think like who you're trying to sell to, do what they want you to do.
Right.
But clearly the fine print in warranties and the exclusion of install warranty, or the inclusion of install warranty if it's done by a certain somebody, is not looking out for the customer's interests. It's looking out for their own interests.
Yeah.
Right. And so some manufacturers will say, well, you'll get a warranty. if you use one of our approved pros, and then you get 5 years.
Yeah, but that approved pro
okay.
can't be just any approved pro. It's got to be an approved pro who buys a lot of their stuff.
Right. It's based on dollars, like their revenue. That
nothing
does
to do
not
with their
matter
install.
to the homeowner. And I understand they're trying to drive, like, again, they're looking out for the contractor and themselves. They're trying to like drive the builds to their own pros. That's fine. But at the end of the day, the customer shouldn't be punished for it. If the decking is installed properly, and the majority of decks in this country are not built by a contractor, and certainly aren't built by an approved pro contractor.
For sure.
And you're never going to drive 100% of them to that.
Right.
There's still going to be a massive DIY market forever.
Regardless.
And
of
there's
your
some
program.
DIYs that would build a better deck than some contractors out there.
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely. Yep.
the word contractor does not mean high quality work.
No, it does
You
not.
have high quality contractors, but these things they're not one and the same.
That's right.
So
Yep.
Give the warranty as long as it's installed properly. Who cares who put it down?
Yep.
The next one for decking we have is thermal stability. So this is, again, something that somebody has tackled, and it's not perfect. Decorators has a board that is very thermally stable now. Doesn't expand and contract in temperatures much, but everybody else does. That's why it's still on here. So the norm is this stuff expands and contracts a lot. And even Decorators does expand and contract a little bit. Nobody's nailed it down to be perfect.
Correct.
But it would be sure nice if the norm in the industry was that the expansion and contraction on these things was reduced by at least to half of what it is right now on some of these boards, right? When you're talking about getting 1/4 inch, 5/8, 3/4 inch gaps between your deck boards when it cools off,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's hard to hide. Vinyl siding, you've got pieces, you've got components that hides that.
That's
The
right.
whole system is designed to have that happen without you visually seeing it.
Yep.
Decking we've not solved that yet. We've not hidden it properly. There's install techniques where you can hide certain things,
Yes.
but there's not products or trim pieces and accessories that help you to hide that finish.
Yep.
So it'd be nice if they would just have the board itself be more stable so you don't have to worry about it. Or come out with an accessory that hides it well if you can do it. I don't know what that is.
I think that's it, right? The idea is looking after the miters on a long run. Almost never do you see a set of stairs open up. They're like 4 foot
Right.
4 foot pieces and 1 foot pieces. And so you can miter a set of stairs and they look fantastic.
Yeah.
But you go 16 or 18 or 20 feet across the front of a deck and miter that. It's just like, it's hot garbage when it's over.
Yeah. And so you could just not miter. That's what a lot of people do now. They butt their corners together. They don't miter them. But we have another problem. These core of these boards isn't the same color as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Before boards are capped, you could kind of get away with that. Now that everything's capped, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, that's absolutely a good thing. Capping solves many more problems than it creates. But this is the one problem it does create, is that the core of the board is not colored.
Yeah.
So we've got, and this is not a sales pitch, just saying, I forgot that we actually have end cut paint that color matches those.
Yeah. Some of those are pretty close.
And they're awesome.
They're pretty good.
So if you are looking for them, go to tuds.ca and search for Accent, AXXENT, and there's color match paint. It comes in like a bingo dabber, and you just dab it on the ends to kind of closely match the color of the board, and it gives a much nicer finish. So if you're trying to avoid those miters, go ahead and do the butt joints, dab the ends with the Accent color match paint, and then you've got a good looking finish again.
Yeah. It's close.
Unless you're using scalloped boards. And then you're still not a great solution. But
Yeah. Our friend and peer, Mark Westrom, believes that the expansion and contraction will be resolved by climate change. We'll have more uniformed climate.
yes. Okay.
And so we won't have to worry about the expansion and contraction because our climate will just move to one temperature.
But are the temperatures not increasing at the same rate on the top and bottom end of the scale? So doesn't it just get hotter as well and cause more expansion?
No, I think he said
No,
it's
it's
getting
not as-
closer. Like it's going to be less.
Not as hot and not as cold.
Correct.
I don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, we're paying the tax.
Right. The taxes. Yeah. Okay.
We're paying the extra taxes, and then
Closing the
that
gap.
will bring that back together.
Sure. Just
I
squeeze it
believe.
in the middle.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Number 6, traction. I feel a little bit silly. This
6?
is starting to sound
Traction?
like a bit of a, well, I don't know. I shouldn't have said number 6. It was number 6 when we decided to before we decided to group
Oh,
them
I
together.
see. Okay.
4, number 4.
I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah. So traction, this is going to start to sound like a bit of an advertisement because, again, one brand has solved this traction. really well, and that's Decorators again.
Well, and I would say that Fibron's Promenade has pretty significant traction as well.
There are other brands in this that have got really good traction as well. Yeah,
Clubhouse is a PVC and has great traction.
Yeah.
Promenade PVC, exceptional traction.
yeah. TimberTech AZEK has pretty good traction on it.
AZEK has good traction.
Clubhouse has pretty good traction on it. A lot of the PVC boards actually have pretty good traction.
Yeah.
Wolf's pretty good.
Wolf is pretty good.
It's mostly those capped composites again that don't have the great, like the wood plastic ones that for whatever reason don't have. I don't know if it's because polyethylene is more slippery than polyvinyl chloride. I don't know if that's the reason, but I'm not sure. But
Yep.
But Decorators is taking it above and beyond. So where we used to have a lot of boards that were very, very slippery, and then you had some like the PVCs we just talked about that were like, well, these have much better traction than these very slippery ones. Now you've got Decorators where it's like, well, these have better traction. It's like, holy shit. This is like,
The industry
this is
should,
grippy.
right? It's like one person walks on that and they're like, well, the whole industry should try to get this.
Yes.
That's how good it is.
Yes. And, okay, well, is this supposed to be? New product launch at Deck Expo is going to involve a wood plastic composite that does have the better traction. So wait
Yeah.
and see. And I don't know if it'll be as good as the Voyage or not, but anyways,
It's worth putting out there to go look at,
sure.
right?
But my understanding is from at least, I could be wrong in this too. Unlike my TikTok trolls like to think, I don't actually know everything. Sometimes I just guess. I'm guessing that the reason Voyage has such good traction is because of the type of embossing and like the texture on the board. I don't know that it's the material they use. So then my head goes to like, well, then why couldn't other manufacturers do a similar texture and embossing on their boards to give them better traction? Right? Like, why couldn't you
so?
take?
You really think it is? I think there's a
I think it's
different
part of it.
I think that's part of it, but I think there's actually a different product in there.
It could be a combination of that too, the material too.
It's like a gum in it or glue or something.
Yeah.
right?
Come on, Decorators. Somebody from UFP, throw us a bone here and tell us why your board has 30% greater traction.
Absolutely not. They're not telling you that. Because
But if you took that embossing pattern, like, so come on, if we look at something like Fibron's Fibron's Concordia line, their Horizon Concordia, the stuff is like, yeah, it's slippery. It's smooth plastic. You've got to be able to put like a different texture on that to give you, like, you know what I mean? Like tires for your car, some have much better traction than others because of the
sips.
sips, not because it's different rubber, because it's a different tread pattern on it. Right? I don't know, just
It's
analogy.
true. Yeah.
But I think that's part of it.
And some of it has to do with rubber though.
Different rubbers too, that doesn't get as hard in the
Right.
Yeah, sure. There is a material advantage there as well.
So it's a little of both, I
Yeah.
believe. So
And maybe it probably is for the Decorators as well.
anyways.
Next one, scratch resistance. Now here's one where I don't know that anybody's really solved this, but there's some that are certainly better than others. There's certainly a wide, like on a 10 scale here, there's ones and there's 10s. There's no 10s. There's ones and
But
there's
there's ones
8.5s,
and 8s or 9s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be nice to see is if there was some, like a lot more 9s.
Yeah.
You can't have a 10. I would suggest it doesn't scratch, which isn't possible.
I
You'll
don't
get
think
somebody
that's
that's gonna be like, well, tanzite stone doesn't scratch. It's like, yeah, okay, but that's a very niche stone on your deck
Yep.
product. And I'm sure with enough effort, you could probably scratch it.
Yeah.
Like
So
I can take a grinder out as easy as the next guy.
that's right. Yeah. And now they're all cordless. So I actually could be carrying it too. So Trex Transcend probably jumps to the top of the list as far as durability goes, right?
Yeah, I would say probably one of the most durable wood plastic composites. Yeah.
And then I don't know that there's a close second.
I would say that Clubhouse and Vecca, but they're both
But
PVCs,
those are both PVCs, right?
are very, very durable. But they like, you don't, there's not one board that has all things for everybody.
No.
But if you're looking for scratch resistance, Clubhouse was great. We carried it for a
And
number of years.
traction, right?
And had good traction, yeah. But very, very durable to scratching.
Yep.
And then, like, I know years and years ago, somebody was like, Vecca's got great scratch resistance. I was like, okay, well, maybe it does. And they're like, and great impact resistance, which would be odd for PVC. That was one of the things that
Yes.
PVC was known for, is not, like great scratch resistance on some of them, but dents are possible in it. And so it's hard to believe, but we got some Deca and then we just like beat it up.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, like great scratch resistance and
Yep.
really tough to put a dent in it with a hammer, like as good as the composites would be.
Right.
So if you're looking for scratch resistance, those 3 brands. Now the problem with that is that Trex is very easy to find, so that's fine. Vecca, Clubhouse, not nearly as easy
It's
to
a little
find.
harder to find those. Yep.
And you may have to balance what they do. They're going to expand and contract a lot. Like Clubhouse expands and contracts like crazy. So if you want the scratch resistance and you're okay with the expansion, well, then that might be for you.
Yeah.
So,
But if you live in a climate, like maybe you're in like Southern Ontario or you're in BC where the climate swings aren't nearly as bad.
or Earth in 6 years.
Yeah. After we all get our taxes paid up.
Yeah.
It's just that like for us, we have such huge temperature range, right? Like we have an 80 degrees Celsius range.
Yeah, I think I have an ADHD range personally, but yeah, we're pretty much the extremes here, and we always tell vendors that too. Like, you want to test some shit out, send it here.
Yep.
Why? Because it's minus 40 Fahrenheit in the winter in February, and it's 110
120.
in July. So you want to see something go through a freeze thaw cycle?
Yep.
We have like 180 freeze thaw cycles a year, where it's like does it every morning and night, and sometimes throughout the day it'll go back and forth between freezing and thawing. It's like, you want to test stuff, test it here.
Yep.
And if it's good here, it's probably good everywhere on this continent.
Yep.
Now, if you're wanting to blast it with pure heat, then sure, put it in
Texas, Florida.
Phoenix or wherever, right?
Yeah.
Just cook it. But yeah. Next one is, we're done with the decking ones. Look at that. On to the framing. We should have did this in a different order. Framing makes sense. So for wood framing, what would you like to see from wood framing? How can we improve wood framing? We all talk about how it's like not as good as it used to be and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So I don't know that you can, like, I don't know. I don't know that there's anything that you can do. It would be nice if the wood was more dense, but I don't think we can do that now. We consume wood at such a rate that you have to have fast growth
Yeah.
cut, right?
Yeah.
And if the wood was a little more dense, it would hold up longer. It wouldn't, like, it would actually hold better. For one, you could put screws in it, it would hold, and then it wouldn't rot out as fast.
Yeah, it wouldn't take on that moisture as easy.
So the only thing I think you came up with was KDAT lumber. It'd be nice if the industry moved to that.
So there's, I guess, a couple things we could have mentioned here. One, we all talk about how the treatment isn't as good as it used to be when they used to put harmful chemicals in it. When arsenic used to be in these things, it was like, it lasted longer when there was arsenic in it. It was like, yeah, but you didn't last as long. That was how I stopped doing that. It's like, yeah, your deck will last for 40 years, but you've probably only got like 10, 15 more left in you after working with it. So it's still out there for commercial projects or docks or special scenarios, but for residential applications, you don't really use CCA lumber anymore. You now are using stuff that doesn't have that arsenic in it, which they say doesn't work as well. So that's part of it. The other part of it is we're getting it, and it's young growth, and it's soaking wet sometimes when it shows up. It's just like the industry is just pushing it through so fast that it shows up, and when it dries out, it causes a lot of problems. It twists and warps and cracks and checks and everything else. And that can cause a lot of issues at install and after install. And then there's also the inconsistencies with how much water retention is in it and how much it's swelled to some random dimension. It's supposed to be 7 1/4, but it might be 7 3/8. It might be 7 1/16. Like, variations that big are not super common, but the variations within like 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch, very common.
Yeah, absolutely. And then and then it dries out once you put it in at a different rate.
That's the biggest problem. You can sort your lumber, you can rip your lumber down, you can do whatever to get the boards all the same size day one.
Plane it, like put all this effort into it to make it look good.
The problem is when it dries out, it may not dry out the same
So
rate.
we had that happen to us. There's a deck that we built like probably 2 years ago. And there's one joist in the middle of that deck that will not calm down. It won't.
Hey, keep her down out there.
Right. So crown up, no problem. We got it. We figured out which way the crown up was. And that we have taken that spine board off 2 times and planed it down to get it back. And it continues to crown higher and higher and higher.
Wow.
We can't
It's now a 2x6.
in the middle of it is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that we'll ever get it. I think
So that stuff, that's crazy. So the nice thing about the KDAT, the kiln dried after treatment, is that it's going to stay more consistent from the time of install till afterwards because you've already taken most of the moisture content out or got it down to a usable level where you're not going to expect a bunch of twisting and warping and cracking, right?
Yep.
So it'd be nice if all the lumber was that way. It'd be nice if you didn't have to seek out and find more expensive KDAT lumber because whatever. It'd be nice if it was just all like that. Like I've taken the moisture meter to some lumber that's come in before. It's north of 50%. Right? Like it shows up and it dries out fast. In our environment here, if we're in the middle of July and it's 40 degrees out, Celsius for our American friends, 110, 115 degrees out.
And windy.
It's always dry here to begin with. We only have 19 precipitation days a year.
Yep.
It dries out within a matter of a few days. That's why people are like, oh, I'm not going to stay in it for a year. I was told I have to leave it for a year. A year?
Yeah.
Go have lunch and come back.
If you leave a fence a year, most of those boards will be popped off your fence.
Right. Here, by the time you come back in a year, the damage is done.
Yeah.
The board is checked and crapped and warped and twisted, and it's already dried out, and you can't condition it now. Like,
yeah, you have probably 3 weeks would be good. 2 to 3 weeks.
Lots. Yeah. So I've followed a board from here at 50%. Maybe it wasn't that at 50. That one was at 50%. Taking it to site on our rent patios, shot it again 3 days later, and it had already dropped from whatever it was, 38 to 18, like in 3 days.
Wild.
So it dries out fast. Now, if you're in a super humid climate that has 260 precipitation days a year, so Tacoma or like Surrey, BC or something where it's just like rains all the time, it's obviously going to take a lot longer to dry out in those humid environments.
Correct.
So to each your own. That's why there's people ask like, how long am I supposed to wait? It's not a time issue. It's a moisture content issue.
I tell people 19% moisture, and then they look at you funny. I was like, well,
1 week to a year.
That's what it is.
Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
So anyways, KDAT would solve a lot of the problems that we have with wood framing. A lot of the frustrations with wood framing, could be solved with just drying the lumber before it shows up. So you're using drier lumber.
Yeah.
To avoid all these issues, steel framing has become a major thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious alternative now.
Yeah. Like we've gotten some major traction. Steel framing's been out for a long time, but now that you've got multiple competitors in market, now you've got a much more awareness in market about it. You've got a lot of contractors who see the value and benefits of it and have just switched to it.
Yep.
The wheels are in motion for that to start to gain more acceptance in market.
Yep.
So it's fantastic. When you look at products like the two top dogs, I would say in the steel industry right now would be Fortress Building Products with their Evolution Steel line.
Yep.
And who am I wearing today? Newcastle Steel. My hat is on backwards.
Yep.
I should have put it on forwards for them. And Newcastle Steel, which is a new company that purchased the old Trex Elevations product, improved upon it, and re-released it essentially as Newcastle Steel.
And he was so Jason was an installer who then believed in it so much that he bought it.
Yeah, Trex was getting out of it, and he's like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, that can't go away. So he's given it a second life, improved upon it.
Yeah.
And now we have two really good alternatives in the market. And then we've got Bailey coming out with their steel framing. And then there's, of course, just the option of just using light gauge steel from any steel manufacturer that you could use as well. But there's 3 well-known systems coming that are in market or coming to market right now. So it's really kind of legitimized steel framing as an option for your deck.
Yep.
It fixes so many of the problems we just discussed about with the wood framing. However, one area we'd like to still see improved is the stair systems for these. So Newcastle Steel still doesn't really have a stair system. They've got instructions on how to use their existing components to make stairs, but it's a bit more tedious than what Fortress has come up with. Fortress has actual stair components and accessories to make it easier. If your stairs are 4 feet wide or divisible by 4.
Yeah.
Or narrower than 4.
Yeah.
Because they've come out with their stair trays, which is great if your stairs are 4 feet wide. As soon as you get to a wider dimension, that's not like 8 or 12 feet or something like that. If you're like 5 feet,
now
even
you got
6 some choices to make.
6 is okay.
6 is okay if you can use up that material and cut the trays in half, sure.
Yep.
But then that does force you to put stringers where you maybe don't need them technically, right? Like at 6, you're going to have like probably 4 and 2. So you have this weird string in the middle, which I guess if you're hiding it and trimming it out, then nobody knows it's there or whatever.
Yep.
So it's a good system. Not perfect. It'd be nice if somebody came up with something that was a little bit more flexible with the dimensioning of the stairs, both in width and depth. Now they have come out with they have a depth adjustable one. Now I can't remember what the range is on it. Fortress has. So you can go a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think
deeper
it's enough
step.
to go like 3 trays.
No,
right?
I feel like it's
3
like
boards.
it'll go from like 10 to 12 inches or something like that.
Yeah, or 11 and a quarter or something. But anyways.
Yeah, it's not a huge range, but it does help. So if you're using 5.5 inch boards or 5 1/4 inch boards,
yeah,
and that 1/2 inch difference with the 2 boards, it'll adjust for that. That's kind of the purpose of it. It's not enough to be like, I want to do a 3 board tread.
Yeah.
So they've added some flexibility in, which is fantastic. Width wise would be good. Now Fortress will tell you, like, if you have an odd width that you need to do, just do them all in stringers then.
Yeah.
Don't use the trays. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess I could do that. It just drives up cost a bit, right?
Right. But also the connection for those stringers, like their adjustable stringer, their adjustable step that fastens onto the 2x6.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of screws in the side of that thing.
Yes. It makes trimming out the side of the joist a pain in the ass.
You could probably just put a screw on the 2x6. Like you could take metal screws and put them into the 2x6 and then leave it there as a backer or a wedge, right? Because all up the side you have a whole whack of screws, and then on the 2x6, if you were to tighten that down, it would rock in. So you could likely just put screws all in the bottom of that 2x6, and then your fascia would hit against that, wouldn't roll in on you.
Right.
But
yeah. The other thing is, why can't they, I'm just like thinking out loud here, why does that adjustable stair bracket have to mount like over both sides of that stringer? Why couldn't it mount on a single side? You know what I mean? Why couldn't the screws be all on the inside of that stringer?
Yeah.
So that they're not exposed on the outside, which makes trimming on the outside much easier.
Sure, that
Just
would look
mount
really
it to
good.
one side.
Yeah.
Because when you go and put your tread on top of that, it can't go anywhere once you fasten the tread or the tray. The tray is going on it, right? It doesn't need to grab both sides and have those screws in the way. Come on.
Yep.
If we can solve these problems on this podcast,
Yeah. Well, Scott's in here. He's no doubt taking notes right now.
Sheffield, take it to the bank.
The other one was having that tray extend. So their stair system is a good system.
It solved the major issue with the Trek system elevations when it was out. They didn't have a stair solution.
Correct.
Nor did they have posts, right? And so
Yep.
Fortress came out and was like, we'll have posts and stairs. There's no point in doing a 90% steel frame deck. So yeah, it certainly solved the problem.
Yep.
We're just looking, these are how to improve things a little bit, right?
Yeah. Eric says that Bailey's stair system is really good.
I'm not as familiar with Bailey's stairs. I don't know if I knew that Bailey had a stair system yet, so I'll have to look. I think they're called True Deck. Is that right?
I don't know.
Bailey True Deck?
We'll find out here.
So that's good. The nice thing about having multiple competitors in market is that they're going to learn off each other.
They have
and
to
keep
push each
improving,
other.
Right? There's no doubt that Bailey probably had a look at Fortress's stair system and was like, well, we could do this a little bit better. And then Fortress probably at some point would be like, right, here's the pain points. Let's improve this.
Shane said we should attach to the one side, so now let's do that.
Right.
That's
We
what
should fly Shane and Wade down here to the plant to have a day session on how to they don't need us. Call Scott Kelly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyways,
isn't that the truth?
there's certainly while these are fantastic products, that's one area that we've noticed just through our managed installs that we kind of like oversee and feedback from contractors that would be kind of nice if it was just like it's good, but it'd be better if it was a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
That stair system.
Yeah.
So take it for what it's worth. Next up, railing. I believe if I was counting, this would be number 8. Two-parter here. Railing systems should be panelized. Prove me wrong.
I won't.
I can understand a little pushback on this. I think panelized systems that are pre-assembled in panels are awesome because they just cut down your install time so significantly. Now, I get it that the transport and the stocking space required for that at a dealer and transportation to and from a job site is more difficult with them because they're not packed down into small packs. You can't throw them in the trunk of a car.
Yes.
Like for a homeowner, they can pull up a Honda Civic and take home a railing package if they're doing Regal.
Yep.
Right? They probably can't if they're doing Fortress or some other pre-assembled panel system.
Yeah.
But
Regal does have a panel system, but
sure.
anyways.
Yeah, in their other line. The panelized system makes things so much easier. What is not acceptable, in my opinion, is any manufacturer of railing that still makes you mount your own brackets. Now, on composite systems like Trex, I sort of get why on those ones, and it's also not hard to mount those brackets on those ones. It's pretty easy. When you're going into metal, that becomes a much trickier thing.
It's just so permanent. when you put that screw in.
Right.
It's
and
just
it
over.
has to be so precise.
Yeah.
Right? You can bang like the way that Trex mounts those little undermount clips on a railing post and you drop your sleeve over top. If that thing is twisted a little bit, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
And it's also adjustable. If it's not perfect, you just like loosen the screw, adjust things a little bit, retight. But with metal, you have to be so precise, and 1/16 can throw the whole thing off so that the panel doesn't fit. And then you can't.
I wonder if they could
really
just change that screw a little bit on their post brackets. So imagine if it was a pan head screw as opposed to a tapered screw. And
Sure.
the hole was a little bit bigger.
So if you were to
actually
slop
then,
a little bit, yeah.
then you actually could adjust it a little bit and then
Yeah.
tighten that screw up, and it
So
would
it's compression.
square.
Yeah.
But that tapered screw that they put in is like, you have a spring punch, and like hopefully you're not even a 30-second off.
Yeah.
Because if you are, it's crooked, and and there is no
And then
fixing
your
that.
caps don't snap on. So that's with one brand. I just finished watching a couple of videos on TikTok, one from Promes Construction, who does fantastic work. I was not familiar with him until kind of found him on TikTok, and was like, this guy does everything like really, really well. Like you want to find a guy who's like does everything to the beyond the book.
Yeah.
Like everything is taped and everything's overbuilt and everything's like he built a good deck. But he was installing a Westbury rail on this big project he had, and one of the videos he made was, here's a tip: make sure you pre-install your brackets on the ground, like with your posts laying down before you mount them. It'll save you tons of time. And I'm like, why is anybody still selling railing without the brackets pre-mounted? And I don't want to hear the like, well, it's easier for inventory. You only have to carry one post. Yeah, but then for the consumer
Go
who's
back to
doing
that.
it,
Yeah, go back to the like for the customer.
right?
What works the best for them? Don't worry about you or your dealer.
Yeah. It's just like we are a dealer and we stock 3 brands of rail. They all have pre-mounted brackets. So therefore you have 4, 5, 6 post SKUs, but that's okay. It beats the snot out of people coming back and bitching and complaining because the railing was nearly impossible to install properly.
Thanks so much for this panelized system. I saved just enough time putting the pickets in that I wasted it putting brackets on my post.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but from the dealer's perspective, from our perspective, what does it matter? If I'm going to carry 100 posts, what does it matter if it's 100 blank posts and a bunch of brackets, or it's 20 ends and 20 lines and 20 corners? You know what I mean? Like you're still going to carry the same number of posts, because if you don't have the ends and lines and corners, you're just going to blow through the blanks way faster.
Right.
You still have to carry the same number of posts.
Yeah.
They're all in the same box still. It doesn't really take up that much more space. But we've literally had some vendors, not names not mentioned, try to sell us on their railing system because we've only got one post SKU. And it's like, that's not the benefit that you think it is right now.
Yeah.
Like I hear that and I'm like, that sounds shitty.
Yeah.
Well, no, that means you have to carry less inventory. No, it doesn't. I have to set up a couple less SKUs in the system, but so what?
Yeah.
You saved me 5 minutes of time for a lifelong of pain. Like,
That's right.
so
Yeah. And then you have customers coming back being like that was legit a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I was like, I believe it.
So that's what, like, like pre-mount your brackets. Come on. Or you better make it so bloody simple to do it that it can't be messed up. And it's not a deterrent to using the system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that's it. Good. Yeah. Great point.
railing again
There
on
we are.
stairs. Better stair system for railing.
This was me talking about the connection at the top and the bottom. The universal angle brackets or the adjustable brackets that people use to connect rail to post. Like they're just clunky looking, you know, they're like, they don't look good.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe that Fortress has probably done the best job of any bracket that is out there.
Fortress has a pretty decent looking.
Their simple
Swivel
stair
bracket.
bracket,
Yeah.
like their simple stair bracket is nice. And their swivel brackets also that are on the deck are also quite good. Like
Yeah.
they look great, really. Century and Regal, man, those are just like, they're just two big knuckles.
Yeah.
It
And so they
doesn't
don't
great.
look great at all.
Yeah.
They're a pain to mount and install, pain to be precise with. They don't look great. And what else was I going to say about that? There was a third thing I was going to say.
Maybe about the lighting when you run like
Well,
with Regal and you run the lighting through there,
was thinking that
there
too,
isn't
yeah.
a place to actually run that lighting through. So now it comes out of the post and gets kind of cinched up tight to the edge of the knuckle because it can't travel through.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
ideal. Century did, because we have them, special order fixed
How many?
brackets.
How much would you sell them for?
Listen, if anybody's on here, if any of you 27,000 people that listen to this podcast are stalking Century Railing and you want
6.
a sweet deal, you want a sweet deal on some Century stair brackets that, I'm not kidding you, they're way better than the swivel bracket, as long as you're not off by more than 30, like you have a standard rise and run, they'll work. If you're too far off it, they won't. But a fixed actual like welded bracket that looks good. It's clean, installs easy. I really like them. We have an excess of them. And I would love to give you a great deal on them.
Yeah, it's just like most DIY customers are used to seeing the knuckle system, and that's what they want. That's what they choose.
Yeah.
So anyways.
So a pre-welded bracket is great. Of course, it's less flexible because you have to be 35 or within a half a degree of that to make that bracket, to make that work. However, they also you can get 32s and 38s, whatever. You can get different size brackets, but certainly the knuckles that'll give you like whatever it is, 150 degrees or whatever. It's like you're giving there's no need for it to swivel that much in that application. Right. So then
in any application.
Yeah.
Because even on the deck,
like you don't need anything more than like 80. Right. Otherwise you just do a 90 degree in the corner.
Yep.
So yeah, it's not needed because I guess that's the one nice thing about the universal angle brackets from like Regal or Century is that you turn them sideways and they become your angle brackets for your decking.
That's really good. One less skew.
But who cares? Yeah. So that's the biggest complaint we get about those systems is the stair systems are a little bit wonky and they don't look great how they tie into the post.
Yeah.
There are brands like Vista that have a better system, maybe not perfect either, but they've got a whole mortise into the post, which you just slide the rail right into and then just stick a self-tap and screw through the rail into the post. So
I think that I really like that system.
I think it looks better. I still think it's not perfect either. You've got this big hole in the post. There's a lot of slop and play in there to adjust for the different size of, or the different angles that you need to rack it to. So there's a sloppy hole that it's going into. It doesn't look great. Then you have your screw on the side of the post. It doesn't look great. So it's not perfect, but it is for install, works much faster. Dealer side / install side, you have separate posts now for every position on the stairs.
Yeah, you have a top post and a bottom post.
Yeah. And so those change up now. You have extra skews there. And if you've ever seen, I don't know if they've changed this yet, but man, they're stair, I don't know what they call them. They're stair brackets to go on a blank side of a post. So if you, for some reason, let's say you were tying into a wall or a roofline post or into a wind wall post or something that didn't have the hole mortised out.
Yeah.
The bracket that they used to put on there was offensive.
Okay.
It was like a Kleenex box screwed to the side of a post to create the big mortise hole.
Yes,
to slide the post in. It was the most atrocious looking bracket that the market's ever seen. I'm sure of it. So they
were like, how are we going to do this?
They've probably solved that since then.
Why don't we just take 6 inches of the post and then screw that to the wall?
Basically. Yeah, basically it stood off the post 2 full inches, like this box. You'd mount a box aside with a hole in it. Anyways, it was not ideal. So it's better, not the perfect system, but better.
Yeah.
I still think that probably of the railing brands that I have experience with, probably Fortress Home Rail System is likely the best stair system because how you measure and figure out your panel that racks, it's all hinged in racks, which is awesome.
Yep.
You cut it straight. You don't have to figure out the skewed dimensions and the skewed measurements to cut everything. Mm-hmm. You just mount your brackets at the same height no matter what the racking is going to be.
Yep.
Which is predetermined with a template in the box. You mount those, take your measurement for inside bracket, measure the panel straight.
Yep.
Rack it and drop it in. So that's
remember when we
pretty simple.
Did the AL13, not the home version, and they had those templates that you had to hold onto the post, but you weren't allowed to line, you didn't line them up with the edge of the post and you didn't line them up with the top of the post. It was supposed to be the bottom of the post, but you could never get to the bottom of the post because of the
welds. Yeah. And there was the post is 3 inches wide. Make the template 2.5 so that they still have to pay attention to centering it.
Right.
What?
So we just did the home, I was out and I helped Tyler do a home rail stair one. And that template now lines up on the edge of the post. It's line it up on the edge of this post. And then these are center. And it's pop, pop. It's you take a spring punch.
Yeah.
And you can go punch, and it worked perfect.
Right.
So that those have improved. That's good.
Yeah, slowly but surely they're improving, right?
Yeah.
So this somebody pay attention to those stairs a little bit, and maybe there is one out there that's figured it out really well. We just don't have we we haven't seen it.
Yeah,
Not
we
in the
haven't
market
seen
is
it.
tighter, right?
Yeah.
We'll see when we're down at Deck Expo, maybe IBS. Maybe somebody's come out with a really wicked stair system. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, let's hope.
And if you're that person, shoot us a message.
Show us.
Finally is pergolas. Pergola or pergola?
Pergola is
Yep.
how I say it.
I really wish there was a maintenance-free, easy-to-install, kitted, decently priced pergola system.
Yeah, we have those kitted ones that we picked up from My Patio, and they're pretty light gauge, those ones.
Yes. There's absolutely, you can get some of these things, some of those 4 things in a pergola system. And if you're just looking for a pergola, it's like a box store pergola that comes out of a box, which is exactly what those My Patio ones were. It's a box store pergola. Then sure, that works okay. We love the Toya Grid system
Yep.
because it's very modular and flexible, so you can get it in different sizes, you can get it in different shapes. You kind of like, you've got a lot, even though it's a system, there's still a lot of customizing and stuff you can do. And they're reasonably priced. The parts themselves are expensive, but as a system, it's a pretty good price for a pergola. The only problem is it works with wood posts, and people are like, I don't want the maintenance. Do you have a maintenance-free post for it? And they don't. That said, we do have our Fortress Evolution steel framing posts that are 3.5 by 3.5. They'd work.
Yeah.
Right? You could do a completely black pergola in that, no problem. There are some other posts out there, and I can't remember the names off the top of my head, that are like lock mitered hollow posts that are structural. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
And they're painted, like
Yep.
they've got a finish to them. Those could maybe work as well. They probably do require a bit of maintenance because they are a painted surface on them, but at least they're not just bare treated or bare cedar. Like they'd have some life to them. So you could maybe do something like that too, but it'd be really nice if there was a maintenance-free version of a Toya Grid as a whole kit.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It hadn't occurred to me to do that, the Toya Grid and the Fortress stuff, until we were talking about it up here. And I was like, oh, well, for sure that would work. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah. It drives the cost up because those steel posts are like they're structural steel posts. So
Yeah.
they're there, but they're still, as
it's
a whole
11
system, it would
11
still be a
gauge or
decent-
something, right? They're
Yeah, it'd
heavy.
still be a decently priced pergola system. So I think it's the closest thing we have right now. And then within your, at the top, Toya's got their shade sails. You got mosquito nets. You got all these accessories you can do at the top. They'd still mount just the same way.
Yeah.
Or you could do a more traditional, like rafter style pergola if you wanted
just
to.
run some trusses over it. And
Yeah. So I think like even though we haven't sold it that way yet, it's just in my head and not being sold that way. That's one step closer to having something like that.
yeah,
But you're mixing and matching 2 systems.
certainly. So Scott Sheffield had to apologize. He was on a conference call.
Probably about the stair brackets.
There are so many ways you can install them, and that's what we're actually testing. And I did take some notes down for the stairs. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Eric says, doesn't Fortress have a pergola kit? ? Or soon to come out ? So I don't know if I know of a kit, but I know that they are certainly working on more and more components around pergola ideas. Like when they put it together, it's like, this would work for a pergola. This would work for a pergola.
We've actually sold their system more for pergolas than we have for decks by a little bit. But it's not, it doesn't check all the boxes I mentioned, right? It's not a kit per se.
Kitted. Yeah.
It's not inexpensive because it is all steel framing structural components. It does run the cost up a little bit doing it that way.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that it's easy and DIY friendly.
I would
still
agree
need to
that it's
cut it,
probably not DIY friendly.
right? Like when you look at Toya Grid, which checks off 3 of the 4 boxes, it's just the maintenance aspect of it. That is DIY friendly. You don't have to cut. You can install the whole thing with a drill. Right? Like you don't need to cut anything.
Yeah.
Necessarily, right?
Maybe some
So-
timbers, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe though. But if you're doing an 8x8, like you don't have to.
Yeah.
You could put it up without cutting anything.
Yeah.
And so certainly the Fortress system is not that, but it's absolutely checks a lot of those boxes and is a great way to do it. There's more and more of those things going up. They can look great. The one we have in our outdoor showroom, when you trim it out a little bit, looks sharp.
Yeah, you
Like
bet.
they can be really, really nice. It just doesn't quite check all the boxes. But that's why it's an improvement, not a new product.
That's right.
So
We need to get 3M involved in this,
just because they think well or what?
What? Yeah, I don't know. like I remember, wasn't there like a marketing campaign based around 3M? It was like, we don't invent things, we just make them better.
Oh, maybe.
Right. And it was like it was a few years ago. Who knows? All the days run together now, but they used to, like, they had an ad that was just like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We don't invent things. We just make them better.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
That's what it takes sometimes. Tweaking, not reinventing the wheel.
Yep.
Once again, we'll be at Deck Expo the 13th to the 18th. If you want to connect, shoot us a message. If you're looking to have us at your booth at Deck Expo, we still got a spot open, I think. So if you're looking for some collaboration at your booth, send us a message to podcast at tuds.ca, tuds.ca. We're also looking for more contributors to the TENS episodes and some feedback. How are those going? Are you enjoying the TENS episodes? What do you think? They're okay.
No, I really like them.
We're
because
looking for more
somebody
people
else's voice.
Yes.
Right?
Not just listening to us ramble on about whether you'd rather take a shit in the woods or wake up with somebody else's wife. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Shit in the woods every time.
Yeah. I would, if you're interested in doing an episode of that or multiple episodes of that, shoot me a message. I can get you set up and with the link that'll allow you to record your episode, and we'll put it up there. So that'll be fun too. That was not the button I thought I was hitting.
The way you hit that, I was like, we're exiting. And then it was like, and then all the people cheered for us.
Hey,
see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships, or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.
Are they hearing the music? Is what I was trying to say with that. I believe that they should be now. We are done recording, but we're still live on the YouTube, so people can chat away if they like. I'm curious on the YouTube if
let's ask them.
you can hear our music through our system now, correct? You heard the opening intro, you heard the closing outro. I believe that how we've got this set up now, that should be working. And what do you think about the little picture-in-picture of our faces close up in the middle? There's a reason why we're doing it for stuff afterwards, but I'm curious if that works for the live, even having those kind of zoomed in on our faces all the time and not switching. I think it's cool.
They haven't answered yet. There's no answer.
We'll get on it.
They can. We did hear the music.
Excellent. And they would hear much better mic quality than they've ever heard in the live before, I think. Well, maybe when we were doing it with Kyler, he had it set up in a way as well. But better than just the phone mics, you know?
For sure better than the phone mics.
Is Eric going to Deck Expo? Mr. Taru?
I don't know. We've had the most listeners, watchers, since this started. Now.
Right now, when we stopped recording the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Picture in picture is cool. Scott Kelly thinks that's great. Levi thinks we need to zoom in a little more on our faces so we can see the pimples.
I think I probably would zoom in maybe a little bit more. I want to see how it looks afterwards when we go to edit it down for the shorts and stuff. But
Sure.
The problem with these little cameras is when you zoom in, quality degrades a little bit. It's not an optical zoom. So I don't want to that's why I try to get them nice
Like
and
move
close.
them. You're like moving them
Close.
closer. Eric is going to Deck Expo, he says. I don't know that I can. Oh, yeah, on your phone you can, but over here you got nothing.
What? You're not seeing the live at all?
Oh, maybe I am now. Yeah, I'm back. I exited out. Eric is going to Deck Expo, he says.
Beauty.
That'll be really good. Maybe we get to see him again.
When's he there? What days?
Presumably
All week?
Presumably he heard you and then we'll answer.
He's there already?
Monday to
Waiting in
Friday.
anticipation?
Monday to Friday.
That sounds like the most common. People are going Monday to Friday. For
Yeah. That's me. I did that. Did you think you did that?
I thought that sound came from me pulling that away from my mouth. I was like, wow, did you hear that?
So I got
That was a clean little pop.
I took my truck in and got an oil change yesterday.
Yes.
And so when the oil change finishes, then they're like, okay, turn your truck on, idle at 1,500 or 2,000 or whatever, right? So I was like, yep, sounds good. At the very moment that I stepped on the gas to get like the gas pedal to get my RPMs up to 1,500, the bay next to me turned on a pump to take antifreeze out of one of the, like the vehicle that was there.
Okay.
And so I got the oil changed and then turned my truck on to rev the engine, and it was like, and I was just like, and the timing was so perfect that I thought my truck had changed.
That's funny.
And I was like, well, nobody seems concerned. Like I was looking around at all the people that were in the bay, and like nobody else seemed to care. And I was just like, no, but guys, like my truck's not the same. This is not okay.
Yeah.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, okay, you're good. You can shut her down. And I let off the pedal, and then that pump was still running. And I was like, oh, phew. But I thought for sure
That's
that,
funny.
yep. I thought I'd blown it.
That's funny. That's fantastic,
man.
actually. Stop recording, but still alive.
Oh, so Scott's going Monday, out Thursday. Eric said he might bring some bagels. That would be awesome.
Oh, some bagels. You know what I saw the other day at Costco that I thought about people on this trip? They had, and like Eric will laugh at me for this, but they had pure maple syrup in like a wine bottle,
Oh, yes.
which made it look so much more classy. I was like, that's real maple syrup right there. You put that shit in a wine bottle, that's real.
It's a real
And I was
deal.
like, I should grab a couple and take them down to the States. Oh, well, that's Eric's thing. He should bring some down.
Yep. Mike, Sunday to Thursday. Eric's excited to see everybody.
Mike who?
Mitchell.
Mitchell, okay. His episode went up today. His 10s.
Levi says it's a pretty quick trip. So
I told Levi if he got his episode into me last night that I would probably put it up today. I did not. He's scheduled for next week. I forgot I had Mike's in the queue.
okay. Yeah. Mike, he's got a timeshare at Tahiti Village. So he's bringing the whole fam jam. So that's good.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
Well,
It's going to be real good.
is that it? We're done?
That's it. I can end this live right now.
Done deal.
Thanks for tuning in, people.